clearly a straightforward and very strong barrier to reasoning something out with regard to ethics. A barrier is egocentricity, and it works in many ways. And sometimes it's kind of straightforward. We can see somebody cheating in a straightforward, obvious way, stealing money, breaking and entering, and those are fairly clear. But what what makes it so unclear is how subtly egocentricity can enter our behavior. It's going to come out strongly when we work to the elements and we start considering point of view. But one of the things about when I reason things out, I'm not speaking now of me personally, but when someone reasons things out uh, from his or her own point of view, um, it shapes the whole quality of the reasoning. So what happens is cognitive dissonance kicks in. So that if I'm cheating in a very subtle way, my mind will almost automatically construct justifications for it. I mean, it's just the way humans tend to operate. We're really good at giving explanations, even specious explanations, even false explanations, even ones that are just clearly and obviously wrong-headed. And yet, because we're so immersed in our own point of view, they carry a certain amount of conviction with us. So
Mhm.
I don't know, an egocentric one doesn't come to the forefront of my mind right away, but a, partly egocentric, partly sociocentric. So if I'm a mine owner, coal mine owner, or one of a group of coal mine owners, and the coal mine collapses because of inadequate support, and miners die, I can say, well, it was their choice to come and work in the mine. Now that's factual claim. That's a factual statement, and it is their choice. They signed a contract and all, and yet that fact seems relatively unimportant compared to the amount of unsafety there is in the crime. So it seems to me clear that I've done something unethical. But what I might do if I'm a mine owner is I can just insist kind of unconsciously on the importance of choice. It's choice. It's this person's own choice to come work in the mines. I'm not to blame. They've done it on their own. And
Mhm.
so notice how that emphasis on egocentrism and the cognitive dissonance serves to justify what are to me fairly obvious examples of lack of ethics. In fact, it's very hard to come up for me to come up with good, clear examples of someone who is acting unethically in a fairly straightforward way and who thinks of himself as acting unethically. Almost
Mhm.
always we have a justification. Con men say they jip people out of their life savings, and they prey on those most vulnerable. And but they'll often say, "You can't cheat an honest man. You can't cheat someone who, unless they're trying to make money illicitly." And that's not true. It's just a self-serving justification. But egocentrism gives it a feeling of validity, and that seems to me to be a very difficult thing to
Mhm.
deal with, both personally and also when I apply the theory realistically to others. Notice how easy it is to find somebody else's egocentricity. Then I could say, oh, those mine owners, look what they've done. Um, Here's one that's not exactly personal, but close to personal. I worked when I was a professor. I was in philosophy departments, and one of the things philosophy departments did, as all academic departments do, is the very strong students, the student who's very good, the people who are teachers would encourage that person to become a philosophy major, right?
Mhm.
Why? Because they're very good students. They're really good at philosophy. But notice how self-serving it is. I mean, you get something by having a student major in philosophy. A much more ethical approach is to ask yourself, well, sure, the person might be good at philosophy, but they might be very good at other things. Let me ask them what else they're good at. I also might consider the fact that you can't get many jobs in philosophy, that many of them are just baggers at Safeway with their PhDs in their back pocket. And so we're not doing it when we encourage it. We're not encouraging it for the good of that student. Rather, in some vague kind of way, it's for our own good, though that's not how we think of it at all. So it's more difficult to come to the ones where I play a role. In my past, I have encouraged, until I realized this, I have encouraged people to become philosophy majors. And once I realized this, I have discouraged people from being philosophy majors because they're because the chances of making a living at it are so small. So egocentrism is just a stupendous barrier to ethical reasoning. And I want to emphasize, not just in other people, but to me as well.
Yeah. Yes, all very good examples. And let me, if I could then just add to what you've said.